I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago.
Well, hello and welcome to the Homeschool Counseling Network broadcast. Today I have a very special guest and friend in studio with me. She's been on some podcasts before on our sister website, It's Only Homeschooling, and we are here today to chat with her about her third release, her third devotional, A Merry and Bright Adventure, a Christmas devotional for family, faith, food, and fun. If you recognize Katie J. Trent, it's because we have spoken with her on her two previous devotionals, Dishing Up Devotions, and I'm blanking for just a minute. Sorry, what's your second one? What was your sophomore effort?
Recipes for a Sweet Child.
That is it, Recipes for a Sweet Child. So we are so thankful to have Katie back in studio today. Katie is a homeschooling mom. She is a social worker. She has a ministry with her husband, and she pours into homeschooling families. She is also a teacher, if you will, for helping disciple your family with her family Faith Building Academy. So we're so excited to have you back in studio today, Katie.
Oh, thank you so much, Kimberly. It's always such a pleasure chatting with you.
We are glad to have you here, and today we're going to talk about your latest devotional for our Bibliotherapy book club. So tell us a little bit. This is your junior effort. My goodness, you turn these out. You certainly have a gift for writing. And what I love so much about Katie's devotionals is they focus on the heart of the home, which is the kitchen. It's where everyone gathers. It's where we nourish our bodies and we nourish our spirits and we pour into our children in the tastiest of ways. But the beauty about these devotionals is you can start anywhere in here. You don't have to just read it from cover to cover. Much like your previous devotionals, you can pick whatever you're wanting to work on and start and have a yummy recipe for a yummy lesson. But this one's a little bit different because it works like an advent calendar. So tell us all about it.
Yeah, so this is actually the book that I have been waiting to write for many years. It was an idea I had even before Recipes for a Sweet Child, and I couldn't be more excited for this book. I love Christmas. I love everything about Christmas. I just always have. And so this book, we have started an Advent tradition. And now our denomination, our faith doesn't necessarily focus on Advent, but I know a lot others do. And it was probably maybe 5-6 years ago when I first heard the term and started looking at what does Advent mean? And I realized that we were essentially doing that. It's preparing our hearts and our homes for Christmas and counting down from there. Now, a traditional Advent, of course, starts the fourth Sunday before Christmas. For our family, we typically start December 1st and count down to Christmas that way. And so we've used a variety of different devotional books over the years and done a lot of different fun family activities and things. And this was something where we really wanted to say, like, how can we not get lost in the busyness of the season? How can we really keep our heart centered on Christ? Because it's so easy to get caught up in everything and focus on ourselves instead of on others, right? It's easy to be like, what am I going to get? And kind of fulfilling our own desires. And so as my kids have grown, I really wanted to make sure that we were focusing back on Christ in a very intentional way. And that's where the book was born. And so this book is set up so you can do it. You can start, and do it like a traditional Advent. You could start December 1st, or you could pick it up sometime and just do it throughout, like you said. Each devotion, there's 25 of them in here. And each one is a family style devotion. So whether you've got, toddlers to teens, everybody's going to be able to engage with it. They're short and simple, but these actually focus on the history of the most common holiday traditions. And so it's teaching your kids a little bit about why do we send Christmas cards, and why do we have Christmas trees, and why do we put ornaments on our trees, and why do we see bows everywhere. So it really takes all of those common sights and sounds of the holidays and teaches you why we're doing them, but also, and most importantly, it shows you how they can actually point you back to Christ. So when you look at your Christmas tree, you're no longer just looking at it and thinking, oh, this is pretty or sparkly, but you're seeing how Christ's message and his life and his sacrifice and all of the things about him, the way he lived his life, the way he loved and served others, all of that becomes your focus so that you'll never look at Christmas the same. And as you go throughout the holidays, which we know starts now, right? If you go to Hobby Lobby right now, months ahead of time, like you can get in the Christmas spirit. I sure have. But no matter when you see these things, they'll become visual reminders of Christ so that you can really keep that at the center of what you're doing. And we've got simple discussion questions so you can really dive into great conversations with your kids and a fun family activity. And these are very simple activities, friends. It is the holidays. We are busy. I am a Pinterest dropout, I say all the time. These are not in-depth, needing a lot of skill activities. One is like a flashlight walk. There's very simple things. And for anything that's like crafty, I actually have a free bundle that you'll get access to when you purchase the book. And so you'll be able to download something if you go that route. But there's options throughout where they're just kind of open and go. And so you're making memories with your family. And then, like you alluded to before, you're getting into the kitchen and you're building memories together. This one is different from my other books because my other books are focused mostly on baking. But this book, even I, who love to bake, do not want to spend the 25 days leading up to Christmas baking every day. I bake a lot, but not quite that much. And so this one is also different because there's fun drinks like a hot cocoa recipe that you're going to want to make all year long and an apple cider recipe. And there are like breakfasts and things where you're already doing, like one of them is a starry grilled cheese sandwich where you're just cutting a star out of a sandwich or whatever sandwich you're making your kids that day. But it'll tie a lesson into what you're teaching them. So we really made it simple, and we actually included 31 different recipes in this so that you have options. There's options if you're wanting to be healthier or you're just looking for something quick or something for your food sensitivities and allergies and things like that. So we really tried to make it easy. We've got grocery lists, we've got supply lists, like we've got everything you need. We've even got little ideas in the back. We like to open something every day counting down to Christmas. And so if you want to do some sort of, again, little visual reminder or trinket, there's ideas for how you can use those so that they can remember what you taught them that day. So lots and lots wrapped into this beautiful book. And it is beautiful. It
is.
It's full color. It will just make you happy. So I'm so thrilled. We actually went through it as a family last year. Like I printed all the pages and we went through start to finish. And my kids just loved it. And they are counting down the days until we can do it with the full actual paperback copy. And so we cannot wait for Christmas.
Oh, such beautiful memories. And for those of you who might be listening to this or watching this at a different time, we're technically recording this in August and I'm in Texas and Katie's on the East Coast, but it is still, she just mentioned she'd just been to the beach. So yes, it's quite warm, but what's more fun than, getting ready for Christmas? It starts now. They're already ready to push some pumpkin spice out to get us into fall. I'm actually going to pray for that colder weather to come our way very soon because it is no joke hot out here in Texas. But I'm excited to go through this with my child as well. We just started cooking more with our son at home because it helps. Well, it's one way you're going to have to do it anyway. You're going to be in the kitchen anyway. Why not extend that to make it a lesson, make it a discipleship lesson? You can incorporate this as part of your life skills with your homeschooling, and it is a way to bond together as a family. That is one of the things that I love about all of Katie's books. They're not complicated. They're easy to do with, like she says, from your littles to your bigs. And it just brings the whole family together. And yes, these pictures are absolutely, absolutely beautiful. And here I might try to include. So you and I both like to bake. There are times when I like to cook. There are times when it's like, oh yes, we have to eat. And I need to get in the kitchen and get on that. My husband's good at grilling, but it's not really his thing. What if you have a parent who doesn't like to cook, or even a child who's like, I don't really want to cook. I don't want to do that. It's not my thing. Can the family still benefit from this?
Yeah, that's a great question. First off, in all transparency, I am a terrible cook. I am not the person who cooks. In fact, the first time I wrote my first book and it was all baking recipes, when my editor got a hold of it, she was like, Katie, I just realized these are all like desserts. Can you just throw in some like dinners and appetizers and snacks? And I was like, no. And she's like, no, it's really, and I was like, no. It's like, you do not know me yet, but I do not cook. My family, even my children, do not allow me to cook. My daughter, she is 11. And if dad is gone working late, she is the one who cooks now because he has taught her. But so first off, let me just say that these are not like culinary masterpieces that we're talking about, even for the ones that are meals in there. And then second, it's okay. Even if you don't want to cook something one day or you don't want to cook something any day, you don't have to. The book has got so many other features in it that you absolutely can just do the family devotion. You can just do the discussion questions. You can just do the family activity. And that was one of the things that's great about the book, why our family's excited for it, is because it's something that you can do year after year with your kids and never get tired of all the things that are in there. So when we did it last year, there were days that we missed. There were days where things were too busy and we didn't get to one part of it, whether it was a family activity or whether it was a baking recipe, whatever it may be. And so I just told my kids it's okay, because next year we'll just make sure that we hit that one. And so there's a lot of versatility that way. And just knowing that we make it easy, there's very simple
Yes.
things. They're not going to take a lot of time. And so use them if you need a recipe. And if you don't, then just enjoy the other parts of it. And you'll probably find yourself pulling it out throughout the year. Like my famous white chocolate chip cookies are in there. Those are the things that I get
Mm.
asked to make every single time we go to an event. And they have been a well-kept secret for many years. They were passed down from my mom. And
Oh, I
that's
love
a
that.
yeah, and it's a pretty common recipe for it, but some of the tips of what we do differently are what make them so special. And so that's something that we use all year round. So there's lots of things in there that if you want something quick, you can pull it out throughout the year too. So,
Well, I think it's the bonding and the love that's in it too. That is in it as well. I mean, you can be a Pinterest fail. You can have a recipe that's just gone south, for lack of a better way of putting it. But the fact that you've put love in it, and if you've had your children in there with you, I mean, if nothing else, if it's a Pinterest fail, it's a moment for absolute hysterical laughter,
oh,
and that
absolutely.
bonding, that
Absolutely. My
bonding.
family will never forget the horrible flourless chocolate cookies that looked like piles of turd. We still laugh about that today. That did not make it in the book, any of the books. You're welcome. But that was something. Or I forgot the eggs one time. And so we made a lemon
Mhm.
loaf without eggs. And so, yeah, absolutely. Those times where it just goes horribly wrong, you can still turn something good out of that. And there's something about, I will say, even if maybe it takes more work when you're cooking with your kids, especially if your kids are younger, it takes a little bit
Yes.
more effort. Sometimes I set out the ingredients and measure them so they're just dumping them in. But when you
Mhm.
have your kids in the kitchen with you, something magical happens, and that is walls come down. Conversation flows very easily. And especially if there's some tough topics or you want to talk about, hey, you seem like you've been really sad lately. What's going on? They're a lot more likely to open up to you because they're cooking and they're not really paying attention. It feels non
Mhm.
threatening. And so you're able to come alongside and really build that relationship in a way that doesn't feel like you're sitting down and having this massive, big, deep conversation. And so it is a parenting tool that we all want to utilize and pull out from time to time because it really is a special time together.
I can see how that's absolutely useful with teens, especially because they get to that stage, or well, even my tween now. I'm an 11-year-old as well, and man, something happens when they turn 11. I'm all,
Woo!
oh, okay. Yes, I made the mistake of calling my husband Daddy in public the other day and not Dad, and you would have thought I smacked my child. I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
so sorry. We're Mom and Dad now, not Mommy and Daddy. I'm like, got it, message received. But even with teens, as they get more of that, yes, they're distracted. Not, if you tell your teen you're going to, we need to sit down and talk. Oh my goodness, their, alarm bells go off of what have I done?
Right.
Am I in trouble? And what most of us, we need to talk. That's not a comfortable way for us to sit down. Even as therapists, you're a social worker. I'm a professional counselor. Most of us don't want to feel like we're put on the spot that way. This way, the lesson gets in very subtle and you're bonding, and you would be amazed at how far you can get when they're properly distracted. They'll pay more attention. They really.
Exactly. And if you have older teens who love to cook and bake, we make it very simple for them too. And so I know families who will actually have the teen do it. They'll do the cooking, and then you'll sit down and we have what we call a baking buddies conversation starter connection.
Ooh.
And that's a little thing that it's like a mini devotion that you can tie together what they made for you, which is how I prefer to do it sometimes, right? Like I like my daughter to cook for me. I usually am doing read alouds for homeschool or something, and she's cooking. But if she wants to make something, we do that. And then we sit down and have those conversations while we're enjoying it together. So there's lots of ways to get around if you don't love the cooking or baking aspect.
Absolutely. The lesson is still there. And, just pick one, even if like you said, pick one once a week. We all can do that for once a week, and pick the simplest one, because the point is not what you make, it's the time together. It's the time that
Exactly.
matters the most. I completely see that. So what advice would you give a parent who's struggling to engage their kids in family faith building? What advice would you give to parents who might be facing some resistance from their
Well, I'd say
kids?
first off, focus on your relationship, because the stronger your relationship is, the more effective your discipleship will be. So if there's some struggles, just take a step back. Don't try to push maybe the discipleship aspect full frontal the way you would, but really focus on your relationship and look for things. This book, something that's a way to tangibly connect heart to heart, is going to be a lot more effective than trying to like shove a Bible lesson down their throat, or, like force something more rigid. So you can do these kind of roundabout ways where you're making it very active and practical. And I think that's what I've seen in my kids is, as they realize the Bible wasn't just something that they read, church wasn't just something that they did, but Jesus is in everything that we do, right? And we're looking at our Creator and we're enjoying His creation, and every part of our lives, our faith is woven into. And that activates their faith in a way where you're not pushing anything and there's no way to separate it out. And so take a step back, pray. I always pray and ask for wisdom from James 1:5, right? God tells us that if we ask for wisdom, He will give it to us. And I pray constantly for wisdom, because only He knows my children and He knows the struggle we're in. He knows where we're going. And so I've got to trust Him to lead and guide us, even when we feel like we're failing every single day. And my friends, let me tell you, we teach people this for a living. We have all the skills and knowledge and experience, and it is still hard because nobody gave us a manual for our own specific kids. It is a faith walk. It is a faith journey, and you have to lean into the Lord and let Him walk with you. It is really building our faith in Christ and knowing that only He can bring salvation for our kids. Only He can help us guide them and nurture them and help equip them to be who He's created them to become. And so we've got to parent with Jesus.
Absolutely. And we always have to remember, too, that we're not doing it in our strength. I think sometimes we forget that. We can lean on Him for the knowledge and the wisdom and the discernment, but also for the strength, because it is not easy. Like you said, we may be professionals. We may teach other people to do this for a living, but it doesn't mean that we've got it all together at home and that we don't face challenges. The same challenges that we write about and teach others about. It's like, shouldn't I know this? Why is this not working? Because we're guaranteed trials, right? That's part of it. That's part of being someone who is in the faith, or that's part of being a Christian. But we don't have to go through those trials alone. If He leads you to it, He's going to see you through it, and you're going to do it in His strength. Absolutely.
Amen.
So lean on Him.
Exactly.
Amen. Lean on Him for that. So what are some of your favorite ways to connect with your kids and strengthen your relationship? You said start with relationship. What are some suggestions you have that you use in your own family? And then you can teach others for how to build that relationship and that connection.
Yeah, I'd say first off, meet them where they are. And this is something that's hard for me because I know I'm not the fun mom. I don't enjoy playing with the toys or doing the things, I don't want to play the video game. I don't want to do, so many of the things that they want to do, but
Right.
you've got to start where they are. And so
Yes.
taking even just 10 minutes a day to connect in that way. Okay, I'll sit down and play with your action figures, or I'll sit down and play that video game, or yes, we can go shopping at Sephora and, look at these skincare products or whatever it may be. You just want to meet them where they're at and find some point of connection to build on. And then take that time. So for us, we always make sure that we pray for our kids individually before they go to bed, so they each get at least 5 minutes. If it's earlier and we're not as tired, maybe they get 15 or 30 minutes even sometimes, right? That's always when they want to delve into all the things. My daughter, I feel like I try to leave her
mysteries
room.
Of the universe.
Yep, 3 times before I ever get out. When they were little, it was like, can I get a water? Now it's like, Mom, I have a question. And what about this? And, and it's like, you want to go to bed, but they're open. And so
Yes.
prioritizing that time, we pray for them. We try to read a devotion at that time and just have that individual time. Go on dates with your kids, and dates don't have to cost money. Go for a walk together, go explore something, go window shopping, do what, there's so many things you can do, but it's really just making sure that you're taking that time to invest in them and build that way and have fun together, laugh at yourself. I
Yes.
think when you can do that and own your mistakes. I mean, I have to apologize to my kids pretty regularly. I have to ask for forgiveness pretty regularly, but I'm modeling for them that I'm not perfect and I don't expect perfection from them either. And so creating that, I always tell my kids too, like, no topic is off limits. Make sure your kids know that you want them to come to you first. There's no stupid question. You want to be the one providing some answers to them, especially like we're in that preteen phase.
Yes.
That is something where it's really important. And so we've had some topics that we might not have been wanting to have, but we're creating that safe space for them to have those conversations now.
Absolutely. You mentioned so many different things there with meet them where they are. Like, yes, I'm one of those parents as well that I'm like, oh, I really don't want to play. But it did, 10 minutes, the power of 10 minutes, if you're fully present, can mean so much. It's quality over quantity. You could spend 3 hours with your kid, but if you're on your phone sitting next to them while they're playing Legos, there's no quality in that. There's no quality in that. And you'd be amazed at the power of being fully present and letting them kind of take the lead on something, because with children, for so much, they're told when they have to go to bed. This is when we're having dinner. This is what we're going to do today. Letting them take the lead and be in charge of what we're going to play, what we're going to do. So yes, I'm the mom that has to go, okay, yes, it's 10 minutes. I will literally set a timer on Google and go, okay, here's our 20 minutes. Here's what I have right now. Now we have to go back and do a homeschool lesson, or here's what I'm going to pour into you. And I'll tell you, it comes back to you. It comes back to you, and here's how. It's that same thing. Bedtime, when you're trying to get them to go to bed, you're trying to get out of the room. I've literally said to my son, I'm like, okay, now it's my turn for custody of daddy. You've had daddy time. Now it's my turn. So if you want me to spend a little bit more time with you tomorrow, let me have this time with daddy so we can book that time in the schedule. And doesn't mean he's not going to test it. He's going to pop up and go, hey guys, what you doing? He does it less now that he's 11. But you train your children and you disciple your children that way so that they, yes, like you said, modeling, they see their parents wanting to spend time together. They see you pouring in time into them individually, and you're teaching them they matter. You're giving them their love language. They matter. I love those ideas that you've shared. Thank you so much for pouring into the community for that. Well, as we wrap up, here's what the last thing I kind of wanted to ask you is, you talk a lot about, and I see over your shoulder there, putting the fun back into the fundamentals of family discipleship. You've touched on it just a little bit, but if families want to know more beyond your devotionals, because this is your third, want to know more ways and suggestions and ideas of how they can disciple their family and their children, but they're not quite sure where to begin, you can help them with that. Can you tell us a little bit about your Family Faith Building Academy?
Yeah, so my Family Faith Building Academy is a 6-week digital course for parents to teach you how to build and implement an effective family discipleship strategy in ways that are fun, meaningful, and memorable, because we see all the statistics of all the kids that are falling away from their faith. And I really, we've been in ministry for, I think, 17 years now, my husband and I. And so we've seen a lot of this. We've worked with youth and young adults. And I saw that disconnect. And so I spent a lot of time with the Lord just saying, God, how can we help these kids? What are we doing wrong? How can we do things differently? And so I share very practical strategies of helping you really build a roadmap for discipleship from where you are now all the way into their adulthood. And it's very simple and practical. There's lots of printables and fun activities. Again, I am not the fun mom, and so God has given me these resources to help me, and I am simply sharing the wisdom with you all. And so it is a really great, very inexpensive way for you to change the way you approach family discipleship, and again, build on that heart-to-heart connection and do things in a way where their faith is not a box they check, where it's not just something they do, but it's so ingrained in who they are and the beautiful experiences of their childhood that there's no separating them. There's no questioning that they've experienced the goodness of God and the faithfulness of God, that they've seen prayers answered, that they've seen God move, so that nobody can talk them out of their faith as they grow. And so that's really the heart behind Family Faith Building Academy.
And it's self-paced, and so you can do it, if you've got a little bit of time here, or you can do it a little bit of time there. Well, Katie, thank you so much. You work tirelessly as a homeschool mom and a working homeschool mom, and with your ministry to pour into the homeschooling community. And I cannot wait to get started trying some of these recipes now with my son. So I'll definitely look for some pictures of that on Instagram. And let's tell people where they can find your book, where they can find you, and where they can learn more about your course. Where can they find Katie?
Yeah, well, the best way to do it is to go to katiejtrent.com. That is where you'll find access to the courses. You can find all the book links. You can find everything that we've got going on. We have a community as well. So all of that's there. And then you can find me on social media like Instagram or Facebook at Katie J. Trent as well. You just have to remember the J in there and you'll find me.
Well, Katie, thank you so much for coming on today, and we are excited to have you as our Bibliotherapy Book Club pick for the month of December. What better way to celebrate Advent than to celebrate it with a merry and bright adventure, a Christmas devotional for family, faith, food, and fun. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.